That was a good one. That was a good opening.
Thank you.
Gag.
Thank you. Hello? Yes?
Oh, turn my volume down.
Are your lights on?
Hmm?
No, your lights aren't.
Oh, my lights? Yeah. I can't reach it. Whatever. Hey. Oh, God. It is like 1,000,000 degrees in this thing.
Oh, let's get it. Let's get the bid over quick then.
Yeah, we're ending the bit. We're ending the bit. Oh, God. Oh. Oh. Squeezing my head. Whew. Hey, folks.
Hey, it's not Star-Lord. It's Sam.
Hey, yeah, it's me. You all thought it was Star-Lord, but it was me.
Sam, the whole
Dio.
time.
Hey, everybody, we're back here with another Nerd Overload. How's everybody doing?
I hope you
Oh,
all
are you
like.
asking me?
I'm asking you guys, yes. I'm not asking the chat. There's no chat.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it's not rhetorical.
It's not, unfortunately. Not yet, anyway. So what's, yeah. You guys doing good?
Doing a good? I'm doing a good.
You're doing a good?
How was day?
Day was good. Day was good. So yeah, we're gonna be doing a show.
And it's all video games this time.
This
folks.
time, this one's all video games.
It's all video games.
Oops,
this time.
all video games.
Which I feel like, honestly, the past couple shows have been very video games light.
They have been, yeah.
So here it comes all at once.
Yep. Oh, hey, Milo's watching too. Milo.
Aw, Milo.
Yeah. Josh showed me pictures of Milo earlier, and that is one adorable cat. It's
Agreed.
It's a good bud.
He's a little guy.
That's a good little bud.
Can't wait till he grows up and looks all weird.
Little stubby legs. The corgi of
The
the
sausage
corgi of
cat.
cat. Yeah.
Oh, did you watch the 8-hour Quentin Reviews Grumpy Cat video?
I have not yet,
What?
but it's on my docket for tonight.
It is good.
Yeah.
It's very good. He
Is
does
like
a
the
very good
history of
job.
Grumpy Cat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
And like every piece of Grumpy Cat merchandise that was ever made.
oh,
and
that's so good.
all of the Grumpy Cat lore.
That seems like the perfect thing
Wasn't there
for
like an
Quentin to do.
animated? Wasn't there like an animated thing, like a series or a short or something?
There's a bunch of YouTube shorts, I think, at one point.
There was a comic.
A comic, that's what it was. That's what it was.
And like a series of golden books for children.
nice.
They have it has a really cute art style they do. And whoever that Quentin got to voice Grumpy Cat for any time that they're reading like
Yeah.
Grumpy Cat, excellent.
Oh,
It
really?
is the voice for Grumpy Cat in my head now.
Nice.
Which is basically, it sounds like somebody doing an impression of Slappy Squirrel from Animaniacs.
But that's still
But
okay.
it fits really
It
well.
fits. No, that fits. That fits.
And it's a really good voice.
Cool. Yeah, that's on my docket for tonight for sure. I saw
Also,
I saw
for
it popped up earlier.
For the
so.
general audience, Grumpy Cat's actual name was Tartar Sauce.
Spelled in a way that is not cool.
It wasn't originally tartar sauce. It was something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a retcon, from what
yeah,
I understand.
Their official story is that they spelled it wrong by accident.
Bullshit.
But that is not true.
That
No
is
one should
bullshit.
believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
Yep. All right, so we are. It's starting to get warm in this room already, so we're gonna go.
Yeah, let's do
we're
the
gonna
show.
Start the show. Also, I'm wearing a sweatshirt and a jacket.
Take the jacket
Take the
off.
take the jacket off.
it's part of the bit. We're doing the bit.
Jacket off
Maybe
on stream.
Yeah, most people have to pay extra for that. No, you know what? Maybe the jacket will come off when we start talking about the games and stuff. But for right now, it's classy. It's good. It's good. But yeah, if you're watching this for the first time, welcome. And also,
Yes, I saw that picture, so I believe it did happen.
yes, it did happen. Yes, Star-Lord did happen. Trash can, yeah. Gonk Droid had really let himself go. So, yeah. But no, just as a kind of a reminder, we won't be able to talk to chat
That's the
as we're going.
cosplay I should make is a gonk
A
droid.
Gonk Droid? Hell
you
yeah.
just have to take two plastic totes and tape them together and
Yeah.
cut holes for your legs.
That's it. Yeah.
Gonk.
You should.
Gonk.
And I freaking love gonk droids. They're my favorite.
Perfect.
They're literally a battery.
Yeah,
That's
with
all
legs.
they do.
With legs.
They walk
Why
around
did
and
they
say
need
gonk.
to make the battery sentient?
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
they did.
They're droids in Star Wars. They're all uncomfortably sentient.
Yeah.
True. Good. You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? You make a good point there. So
For what they do and
Yep.
what they are and how they're treated, it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's one of those things don't think about it too long.
I mean, it's kind of a driving force in the Solo movie.
well, culminating with a droid being made to live inside the Millennium Falcon at all times forever. Based off one line.
Yep.
One line in Empire. When they plug a C-3PO in and he goes, wow, this ship has a very interesting vernacular. That's it. All right. So yeah, we're going to get this thing going. I have an intro, but it's a cosplay one and not a video game one. So do you think we should do a video game intro instead?
I mean, I have a video game one, but I don't know how. Well, that's kind of relevant.
Okay. Let me try.
Well, let's workshop it. Workshop both.
Let me try mine. Let me see if it fits, and then we'll take it. So, all right.
I mean, you did dress up.
I
so
did
that
dress up
does
for the
give
occasion.
you
That's
power
very true. That's very true.
Over the dumb Donkey Kong 64 reference I was gonna make that we've probably done before.
Yeah, but it's Donkey Kong 64. All right, here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to Nerd Overload, the pop and geek culture show where you don't have to come in costume to listen. You don't have to come in costume to listen, but it makes it more fun. I'm Star-Lord.
I am a depressed man in his 40s.
On a cosplay.
Aren't we all just wearing cosplay? Don't we all wear the
We're
mask?
all yes, yes, absolutely.
I'm Cody.
Now you sound like what was her name from Batman? The therapist. Was Batman Returns?
Batman
No.
Returns. Chase Meridian.
Chase Meridian. That's what it was.
Yep.
Let's do it all over
Let's
again.
do that.
Let's do it all over
I-
again.
I
Because we
blew
made
it.
it sad.
Yeah, I made it too sad.
All right. Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to Nerd Overload, the pop and geek culture show where you don't have to show up in costume to listen, but it makes it more fun. I'm Star-Lord.
I'm Cody, and don't we all wear a costume? Don't we all wear the mask?
Ooh, that's deep.
I don't know why I have to do the face off every time I say it.
Well,
but-
it's fitting
but
with
I'm
my
here.
check 'em out, so
Okay.
you're good.
And I'm the guy in the background of the first season of Mandalorian.
There we go. I like it. All right, so we have a great show for you all this week. We have a bunch of news, bunch of game news. It's like all the video games, all the vidya games, all hit at once.
The jeans guy? Is
Yeah,
that what you're saying?
yeah,
You're the
yeah,
jeans
in the
guy.
hallway.
You're
in
jeans
the hallway.
guy.
Jeans guy.
You know what?
Okay.
That would be a great cosplay. Someone go as jeans guy. Someone go as what was it? The PA in the background of a Game of Thrones with the coffee cup.
Yeah.
Coffee cup.
Yeah. There we go. Deep cuts. I like it.
Actually, I have seen a cosplay of the jeans guy.
Yeah.
He had like a piece of a wall that looked kind of like the hallway from that scene.
Oh, go as the jeans guy, and then go to the Star Wars costume like meetup and get like the official photos taken with you in the background.
No.
Yes.
I need to wear pink hot pants and carry a boom mic.
Like
In the background.
in
the
Tatooine when they're in
Yes.
Tunisia.
Yes.
Yeah.
In 1977, the boom mic operator wore hot short pants.
Nice.
And then on the set of Mandalorian and Grogu, the sound boom guy put pink hot pants over his pants.
Yeah, there we
To
go.
keep tradition.
Just to keep tradition.
I want to
love
go
it.
as Boba Fett without his helmet on with the big
Glasses and the
Glasses.
stupid mustache.
yeah.
There we go. I'll go as David Prowse.
Scottish Vader.
Deep cuts here. All right, but before we get into all that video game news, let's start talking about some things we have been checking out.
Check it out!
What are you doing?
I'm dancing. Oh, I'm distracting you. That's right. Yes. All right. So yeah, some things we've been doing this week. We're gonna kind of go through these a little quick because there are just so many videos.
There is so much news. There's
But-
so much stupid news.
But we couldn't do the show without me mentioning Indiana Comic Convention. As you know, we've done a couple of interviews with folks associated with or going to be at Indiana Comic Convention. We went over the weekend. Jordan and I were there technically all 3 days, although on Friday we showed up about 20 minutes too late to get our press passes. So we just wandered outside the con for the Friday.
There's plenty of stuff to see outside
it
of
was-
the convention.
it was
People
still
coming
great.
And
Oh,
going.
I'm sure there
Yeah.
were cosplayers everywhere.
Oh, all over the place. Before I get into the review, I do need to also say we did receive press passes for the con, so we were kind of comped tickets. This is so, being clear, but that's not going to color my opinion of the con. Long story short, it was a phenomenal time. Yes, keeping it real. We were. It was a phenomenal time. Everyone, it was packed, and yet the aisles seemed wider. Like I think they did a better job spreading out the aisles for everything.
That is like
year.
my biggest pet peeve of any convention I go to is getting bottlenecked or crammed.
Oh, there were a few aisles that were a little crunched, but for the most part, really great. They instead of having the celebrity area, like in one back area where everyone kind of got crunched, it was all along the outside walls, so you can kind of go around. They had food trucks inside the con this time,
nice,
which was fantastic. Jordan had some samosas that were pretty. I had a bite; they were pretty good. Had some walking tacos and stuff.
The worst part is trying to catch them, though.
Oh yeah,
they're always when they're walking around.
you gotta chase them down before you can get to them. Yeah, once you get them, you're good. But saw a lot of cosplayers. That's what I usually go for when we cover these cons. I know there were a ton of celebrities there, and it looked like for the most part, everybody loved talking to all those celebrities. I've met plenty of famous folks at conventions, and it's really cool. But this age, it's not my go-to. It's not the thing that I go for these things.
It's also kind of expensive.
Well, that's the other thing, and I'm going to get to that here in a second. But we walked around, saw a million cosplays. We talked to some of the book writers, some of the comic writers, some of the independent artists. I also really love going and seeing the independent artists.
You got to support the little guys.
Yeah. If you go on our Instagram or our Facebook page, quick plug for those early in the show, put up every cosplay picture we took. And honest to God, for every picture that's on there, there were at least 10 cosplayers that we weren't able to get. It was just chock-a-block full.
Was friend of the show Josh Nealis doing a booth at that
He
one?
was not. He was at a different con. He was at a
okay.
different con this week, and I forget which one it was, but he was at a con over the weekend. So when getting cosplay pictures, I have a couple of pretty strict rules. If someone's eating, if someone looks like they're in a serious conversation, if someone's at a booth trying to buy something, you don't bug them.
Yeah, don't bug them.
We're not insufferable. We saw plenty of other people like stop people mid like purchase and stuff like that. Don't do that. Be cool.
Wait 2 minutes if you really want a picture.
Wait 2 minutes. Look awkward at a booth while you're waiting for someone to stop talking so that you could then get the picture. We did that a couple times. But thank you to everybody who stopped and let us take pictures and stuff. It was pretty cool. Let's talk about the celebrities and the dollar amounts and stuff. Do you remember back in the day when going to a convention was like $30 and we balked at a celebrity charging $60 for an autograph?
Oh yeah.
60 is cheap these days.
I mean,
50, 60 was the low end of stuff.
Inflation.
In this economy?
Yeah, I know. And right.
I mean, a B-list celebrity in this economy?
Yeah, and
hey, they had at least one A-list.
they had a couple of A-lists.
True.
But the prices for some of that stuff is just outrageous. I know that has nothing to do with it's not the con's fault. And inflation and, things are at a premium.
Celebrities got to eat too.
Celebrities need money too. I get it, especially ones that haven't done anything for a while. But when you're Nicolas Cage, and I understand, first off, and again, this was the first American con that he'd ever done. He'd done one Japanese convention, and that's been it. He's never done these before. And
dipping his toe in.
And he's still a working actor doing huge stuff. He just put out Spider-Man Noir last week, or Spider Noir last week. So I get it. He was charging $400 for a photo, $250 for a pre-signed picture, and like $600 to get your picture with him signed. And I think it was like an extra for having a quote or something.
If you look at him too long, you have to give him $20.
Yeah, basically. Well, they had him cordoned off, so unless you were paying, you absolutely
he was
could
in a
not
he
see
was
him.
in a Nick
He was
cage.
He was in a yeah. I like that. Yes, he was in the Nick cage. And so on Facebook,
I like that one.
that was
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, that
Thank
was
you.
good. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, I like that.
Thank you. I've been workshopping that one in my head for like the last 10 minutes.
No, good work.
His gilded Nick Cage.
Yes. But so on Facebook, there is a fan group, fans of Indiana Comic Convention, and people were voicing their opinions, both positive and negative, of meeting Nicolas Cage. And a lot of people were a little put off by how short of an interaction and how kind of standoffish he was, and how his handlers were like super hardcore about stuff. But
It's first time.
it's his first time, two, huge star.
Yeah.
Never, yeah. It looked like
He would be mobbed all day.
he was mobbed all day, basically. So a lot of the people have been putting up a lot of their pictures with Nick and Nick, because we shared a physical space.
So you're on first.
So we're
your
on first name basis now. And it looked like the first day he honestly looked terrified in all of his pictures. I mean, it was the same exact pose, same exact face, just kind of a.
I mean, it's Nicolas Cage. It just sounds like his face.
It looked like a cardboard cutout, because every single photo had the exact same one. The day three,
Like a deer in headlights kind of thing.
Honestly, it was. I'll show you a couple once we're done with this. Once I'm done talking here, but yeah, the Sunday pictures looked like he was having more fun. He was actually getting into it. I did see someone.
Maybe like this is a weird thing to think about, especially with a celebrity that big and as many movies and everything he's been in. Maybe he does. Maybe he has kind of an anxiety thing.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can absolutely see that. But there was someone who got a picture of John Travolta signed, and he wrote, "I want to take his face ... off."
That's good.
Which
That's
is
a good
good.
bit. That's
Which
a
is
really
good.
good bit. Whoever
Yeah.
did that, I'm proud of you.
No, that was a
I'd
good
be like,
one.
I would want to be like, "Thank you, Mr. Cage. I loved you in Vampire's Kiss."
Yes,
That's
yes.
exactly what I would
Just
have done.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm a vampire over and over,
Yeah.
or the entire alphabet. A B C D.
No.
E, F, G.
Here's what you do.
Yeah.
You get a pair of those plastic, crappy
the
vampire
teeth.
and glue them to like something.
Yes, and have him sign that.
Yeah. And then you can put it in a shadow box.
Oh, there we go. So that would.
That's what I would have done.
That would have been good too.
Because honestly, Vampire, as bad as that movie is, it's probably one of my favorite ones he's done.
Oh, it's definitely one of the most unique,
Oh, yeah.
without a doubt.
Long Legs is really great.
Long Legs,
He's really fantastic in Long Legs.
Yeah.
Like legitimately.
Mm-hmm.
And also he's just being completely out there also. Like
I mean,
Sure.
Nick Cage.
yeah.
Mandy probably one of my favorite.
Mandy's
of his
great.
modern-
Yeah,
modern ones. Yeah. But
Why does the caged Nick sing?
oh, well, you just found the episode title.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it right there. But yeah, it seemed like most people were having a great time with the con, though. I did get a chance to go up and talk for a second to Chris Bartlett, the guy we interviewed.
Oh,
the
the
show.
C-3PO guy.
Yeah. So I went up and talked to him, introduced myself, and it took him a second to remember, but that's
He's a
cool.
busy dude.
He's a busy dude.
Yeah, he's probably done
He's
a
a busy
lot. He's
dude.
probably talked to like 100 people.
That,
He
that
actually
same
had-
day.
Yeah, he actually had his C-3PO costume from the waist up at his
Oh,
booth,
sick.
which was
Oh,
pretty
that's cool.
That was pretty cool. But
Jinx.
but otherwise, it was just a great time. I would highly recommend going if you ever get a chance. I've said before and I'll say again, of all the cons that I've been to over the years, and we've been invited out to over the years, Indy is the one that I would go multiple days. It really is.
Okay.
There's enough there to do multiple days worth of stuff. Where other cons, they're good, they're really good, but
Once you do a loop, you're kind of...
But let's face it, you get a corporate con like a Wizard World.
Well, it's not
or-
Wizard World anymore. It's Galaxy.
It's Galaxy Con. I was trying to use their old names just in case we ever get invited out
That's
there.
true.
But,
Too late now.
but we've said it now. So Galaxy Con, it is a corporate con, and it's fun. It's fine. But you go to one, and the layout is the exact same for every single one because they have it down to a science, But not as much fun. But Indie Comic Con, I would absolutely recommend it. I'm looking forward to going out next year.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. So that's what I've been. That's the main thing I've been doing. So
my check it out is
check 'em.
also Nicolas Cage.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
I watched a movie.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Tell me about it. Speak on this.
I saw with my one good eye, and my bad one, I guess, was kind of looking in that direction. Renfield.
Oh, yeah, Renfield.
That's a good movie.
I have never
yeah.
seen Renfield, and Brandy was like, "Hey, we should watch a movie tonight. We don't do that often because we do watch a lot of YouTube."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Okay, cool." So I pulled up something, and I was flipping through it, and we were just kind of looking at movies, and I was like, "Oh, that movie's funny, and that movie's good," and I was like, "Oh, I've never seen this. Kind of want to watch that." So we watched Renfield. Oh my God. That movie had me rolling.
It's a lot of fun. It's a really fun movie.
I was laughing so hard. But also, Nicolas Cage's Dracula is kind of scary in that movie. Like
no, he's legitimate Dracula.
He's legit Dracula.
Yeah, he is like, my humanity was gone ages ago. I am just comfortable being a horrible monster.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, well, if you tell Nick Cage that he's going to be Dracula, he's going to be 1930s, like, hardcore Dracula.
The fact that they recreated, like, all the Bela Lugosi scenes for the flashback of Renfield meeting Dracula was so good.
I thought the set design was really good.
Oh, everything was on.
Every set was extremely like detailed. It looked like a 90s movie.
It gave me like, even though I've never seen What We Do in the Shadows, there was like vibes of that, and I think that was their choice of like color and lighting and stuff like that. But also, it felt like it could have fit in. That is straight up a Nicolas Cage pose that I've seen 100 times.
He does look uncomfortable.
He does look uncomfortable.
Okay, so this was Saturday, and I'll find a couple others from Saturday. It was that same pose every time. Sorry, keep going. Keep going. I'm distracted.
Also, the prosthetics of him regenerating as Dracula, I thought were pretty decent. I mean, the one where his skin is literally hanging off his face was a little hokey, where he's like huddled over that cane or whatever, like pretty early on in the movie. Also, the scene where they're fighting the vampire hunters was pretty funny. And then like the one guy like pulls the drape down and like he gets like blasted full blast with like sunlight.
Yeah.
And then Renfield like kneels down to him and he's like, "Master, are you all right?" And he's just like, "Yeah." And also his teeth. His teeth were like really just driving me nuts.
Oh, really?
Like they're all sharp. He had a piranha mouth.
It was the kind of just like fun, good movie they don't make enough of anymore.
Oh no, I loved it, but it was also incredibly just hokey in a way.
Yeah, that's what made it fun.
Oh yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved the movie. And then like there were like parts where I seriously like all these like crazy action fight scenes with the Croods. wait, it's all his characters. It's the Crude. It's the Superman he never got to play. I'm not sure what the girl is holding.
I'm not sure what these two are, but I'm more pointing out that pose.
Oh yeah, it's the same.
It's the exact same pose. Let's see if I can find a.
Yeah, same pose.
See, this is Sunday. He's having more fun.
Yeah, he does.
Look,
he definitely.
He's actually smiling.
He had to warm up to it.
He had to warm up. Yeah.
Is that Andy Serkis?
It was not. That was. You know what? It might have been.
That is Andy Serkis.
Why?
Can the stream see this?
No.
Maybe they should.
Yeah.
But was
anyway.
Gail Simone there? I could have sworn I saw a Gail.
Nope, she wasn't there.
Some other redhead, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm distracting you guys.
No, you're really fine. You're fine. But no,
yes.
I really... Is that a guy just wearing a shirt with a bunch of Nicolas Cage faces on it?
Yes, this guy said that it took one look at it and said, okay, that's the best shirt ever. And yeah.
This man is a national treasure.
This man is a national treasure. Yes.
Good stuff.
Yes.
Good stuff.
So,
but no, Renfield,
all right.
I really, really enjoyed. I thought it was a fun movie. I'm mad at myself for taking so long to watch it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. The effects were goofy. Aquafina was hilarious.
I really
I like her.
Awkwafina.
I
like
enjoyed
her.
her in that
Yeah.
movie a lot
Yeah.
as the cop.
Whatever her name.
It's
Becky?
unfortunate she had
Yeah.
to play cop, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, you know.
but she was a hard-nosed, out for justice cop.
I gotta get mine out of the way.
Oh
real
yeah,
quick.
talk
go,
about
go,
your
go.
thing. Talk about your thing.
You did Dracula. I'm gonna talk The Bride because I watched the Maggie Gyllenhaal directed The Bride movie, and it was something.
Okay.
That is not a
glowing review.
No, and it doesn't deserve one. But also, I didn't hate it
Okay.
because, like, at least it was trying to do something.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was. It's not entirely clear.
Okay. What's different about this one compared to other Frankenstein Bride?
Well, it
movies?
takes place in like a prohibition kind of
Okay.
time period.
All right.
And the opening is really weird, like has a weird meta element where we open with Mary Shelley, the ghost of Mary Shelley, talking to us about how she has another story to tell. So she possesses the woman that would become the bride at some kind of dinner,
Oh.
and she starts screaming about her genitals or something, and it's really off-putting and terrible
Okay.
for the full first 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then
At that point, I would have shut the movie off.
I almost did.
Yeah.
I literally almost did.
Mm.
But it does get better after that.
Okay.
But it keeps this whole, like, that's the meta framing element, is that Mary Shelley is telling us a story through this woman who is I don't know if it, like, we're watching a movie of the story that she wrote, or like what the heck they're trying to do or say with that.
That is weird.
It feels so unnecessary and overcomplicated, and it leaves her with like kind of like this like Tourette's-esque thing, where
Okay.
like sometimes the bride just starts shouting
Screaming.
words.
Oh.
Like,
Huh. And none of that was in service of like the larger story. It was just kind of weird for the sake of it.
not really.
Not
I
really.
mean, it does
Okay.
kind of like she angers a mob guy while she's doing it, and that's how she ends up dead. And then
Okay.
it's kind of
gets resurrected.
yeah, it
as
gets
the bride.
resurrected because Frankenstein wants a mate, and
Yeah.
Frankenstein kind of also sucked because sometimes he sounded like a monster, and then sometimes he just sounded like
A dude.
Christian Bale.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, was it Christian Bale?
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
But overall, like, at the same time, it wasn't not entertaining, and everything looked great. The set design was great. The costuming was great. The bride's whole look was on point. Like, she has this, like, because of the whatever the juice was they used to bring her to life.
Yeah.
When she spits it up, she has this like stained
Oh,
like
really? Yeah, I've seen
splash
pictures
on the
of
side
that.
of her
Yeah,
mouth. Looks
yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
But overall, just not
Not
good.
That's
Okay.
depressing.
That is a bummer.
But they really tried.
Yeah.
Well, at
good
least
effort.
At least they
A for
tried.
effort. Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
they tried.
Okay.
A for effort, C minus for the whole thing, probably.
Yeah. Huh. Well, that's kind of a shame. I mean,
Yeah.
at least it looked cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got time to kill, it's not the worst
It's not the worst thing.
thing you could watch.
Yeah.
So
But,
you're saying it's not a waste of your time per se.
I mean,
It is, but it
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 isn't.
is, but it isn't.
All
Okay.
I mean,
right.
if you just want to look at people looking cool and wearing cool costumes
Then
and
that's
like
worth it. Okay.
doing action-y stuff, and also there's a rave sequence, even though the movie takes place in the 30s.
I was gonna say the promotional pictures I saw of the Bride and Frankenstein looked like they were party freaks.
Yeah, they go to a rave under a bridge, but it's also still the 1930s, so like, why?
See, if it were the 1920s, you could say I was like a flapper rave, but like
Yeah,
30s,
like
that's not
like
quite...
a speakeasy kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I'm going to skip this one. I was thinking about it, but
If you do watch it, just hold out past that first 5 or 10 minutes.
gotcha.
So you said it's a rough start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just watch Lisa Frankenstein again.
Yeah,
God, I love that movie.
That's
Yeah.
a better poll. Watch,
That
watch
movie's
Lisa
so
from
good.
Frankenstein instead.
I still haven't watched the Del Toro Netflix
I
one
haven't
yet.
either.
I need to.
I've heard it's very good.
I also watched Iron Lung, the Markiplier movie, the other day.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good.
It's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Like not to burn on Markiplier's acting ability
Well,
because he does a serviceable job.
mhm.
But it would be such a better movie if there was
If there
somebody
was
who could
someone else.
really act
Yeah.
it, really chew up the inside of that submarine.
yeah.
It would be a killer movie. But with
So you want a giant squid
what? Oh,
to chew up the inside of the submarine?
that was a pretty big stretch.
Yeah. You had a good joke earlier. Not, the universe
Rest on-
has
rest
balanced
on-
itself out.
Rest on my laurels.
Yes. But you're talking about Ohio's own Markiplier.
Yes.
Here.
Oh, I forget he's a semi-local boy.
Yeah, Cincinnati area, I think. Briefly.
If it was somebody who could really act, it would be an
It
all
would be
timer. But
better,
like the
yeah.
way it is, it's just a pretty good way to spend 2 hours.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Only
Oh, that's-
one joke each.
I mean, listen, it could be much worse than just a good way to kill 2 hours.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I mean, he directed and did the whole movie, so I guess if it wasn't Markiplier, there would be no Iron Lung movie at all.
Sure.
So you're saying he roomed it, but he didn't quite room it.
He did a good job.
Yeah.
He did a really good job.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, hey, we got to jump into the news, so here we go. Taking my jacket off. Too hot in here.
I told you.
Cover your eyes.
Oh, God. Oh, it's too hot. Milk was a bad choice. Ugh. Here we go.
There's a lot of fake blood in that movie too, like so much fake blood.
Oh, yeah?
There was a lot in Renfield too. Also a lot of digital blood in Renfield.
Oh, I hate it when they do digital blood. It has no
Wait,
weight. Yeah.
it doesn't get gross enough.
I get these gloves off, too.
Yeah, now you look like a Call of Duty skin.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Which they said they're not going to do any more like goofy skins in Call of Duty anymore with the new one.
It's still a goofy game.
It's a goofy game.
It doesn't really not serious unless you're a 14 and think it's like serious.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. News time. And
I hope you like video
I
games.
hope you like video games. I hope you like Josh and Cody talking about video games. I was at a con all weekend. I don't know anything about anything that's happened. So
you looked at some of the stuff in
I
these
typed
news articles.
I typed the list up. That's about.
You're looking
the
at stuff
extent.
on your phone when we.
Yeah, it's true. I did see a
Walked
couple
in.
things. Anyway, let's start with Summer Games Fest.
Is that the top of the list?
That is
Okay.
the
Yeah.
top
All right.
of the list.
Summer Jeff Games Jeff.
Summer Jeff Fest. Yes.
Yes,
Tell
Summer
me.
Jeff Fest.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Jeff is bad.
Jeff Keighley, we're talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
But it's not as bad as the Game Awards because
Which is
not,
also him.
Yeah.
there's not some like false pretense of an award show happening. It's just the commercials. So
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a lot of, hey, look at this.
yeah, it's not trying to be something it isn't.
I
so
remember
guess
last
that-
year's, and yeah.
Basically,
about that.
it's all the parts of E3 that everyone just skipped through on YouTube.
Yeah.
Of the three like press events we're going to talk about, I thought this one was the weakest.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about it. What were some of the games that that were released?
Should we start from the bottom up?
I don't know.
Bottom up, sure. Let's do that. Okay, bottom up.
That was the first one.
Yeah, I guess this might be in order actually.
Okay.
Resident Evil Veronica. It feels a little early to already be showing off another Resident Evil. We just got the last one.
We just got the yeah.
But this one's a remake of an old one.
Yeah, this is a remake of an old one from the Dreamcast days.
Okay.
It should be good. It's a good game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Code Veronica. So
Not terribly exciting because this is the thing that they do. Like
the problem I had is I don't know if I was having connectivity issues with this stream, but also I was traveling around a lot when this was going on. I had a family event I had to attend, and I was kind of like on the sly watching it.
Yeah.
And then my brother-in-law started watching it with me.
Well, sure, yeah.
Yeah, Code Veronica, or just Veronica, they're calling this one.
Yeah, they're dropping the code. I don't know why, but
yeah,
it's
whatever.
fine, whatever.
But it kept skipping back to the little French lady, and I'm like, I get it. She's French.
All right, Alien Isolation 2. Since I'm not talking about the games, I'm gonna watch the clock a little bit.
Rein
here.
us in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alien Isolation 2.
Cool.
Yeah, first one's good.
You get a bigger environment, because not only do you get like the colony bits, that's kind of claustrophobic with the hallways and whatnot.
By the way, this is Alien as in the film franchise.
The film franchise.
Yes, the film
Yep.
franchise Alien, yes.
This is the horror game based on that
Mm-hmm.
really puts you in the shoes of...
People seem to like the first one.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of been an all-timer with like streamers and stuff.
it has
so
been. Yeah, I've
it's
seen a
not
lot of folks play it.
surprising they would do another one.
I just can't believe it's been 10 years
Yeah,
since the first
It's
one.
just
Yeah,
been a long
true.
time.
Yeah.
Which I didn't feel like it. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I remember that game.
Sega's publishing it, so hopefully they don't put AI in it.
Here's hoping. Fingers crossed. Gen Atlas.
It's from the new guy, or it's from the guy who created Ico and
Shadow of the Colossus.
and
the one with the big
The
dog
Last
monster.
Guardian.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I am not hot on this guy's games. I think they're a little a little
Smell their own farts.
smell their own fartsy, yeah.
Yeah.
But this one, the guy has a gun, which is weird.
and there's big robots.
It seems like a more traditional thing from him that
Yeah.
you wouldn't expect.
Well, I mean, all of his other games are pretty fantasy based, and if you have guy
yeah.
with gun,
Yeah, every single one of them was a fantasy game. This is his first step into a science fiction kind of setting.
gotcha. Okay. Stranger Than Heaven.
From the guy who created Yakuza.
Yes,
No.
this is
it's
an
not?
RGG.
It's from the studio.
yeah.
that-
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
This is RGG.
But he left the studio,
Mm-hmm.
so he's not there anymore.
That's why the last Kiwami game was not very good, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I could have sworn this was from the guy who made Yakuza.
No, it's just from his team that he left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I've heard is that the rumor is this game, even though it has nothing to do with the Yakuza games, it is definitely part of the Yakuza universe because it's the beginning of the clan that Kiryu is an enforcer for at the beginning of the Yakuza series.
Is it?
I've heard that is what the secret is because people have torn apart trailers and stuff like that, and
Trying to figure this out.
and they have found references to things that were referenced in Yakuza games as past events of the Tojo clan or something like that.
It looks cool, but I don't like you said, the last Kiwami wasn't very good,
Yeah,
so I'm skeptical.
Yeah.
And I don't like that they've put Tupac in it for some reason. That seems unnecessary
That feels
and
weird. That
But
feels
also,
weird.
Snoop Dogg did come out on stage during this part.
That's how they tried to make it okay, but I don't think it
Yeah.
actually made it okay.
Well, you know who Snoop Dogg isn't? Tupac.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't see how puppeting around a dead person helps their game be any better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
I don't know.
kind
It
of
feels weird.
Like-
it's kind of
like-
ghoulish.
Like when
Feels weird.
Tupac popped up, and I was like, what? I was like,
Yeah.
okay. Because they were just throwing names left and right
yeah.
of all these people
And it
who are
was
playing all these
mostly
roles.
Japanese actors that I didn't recognize.
Yeah, it's like, I
Sure.
don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Tupac, and I was like, I know that guy.
Yeah.
All
And I
right.
know he's not alive. This feels wrong.
So does that mean that the next Like a Dragon game is going to have Biggie?
Maybe.
Oh, wow.
No, that's what the guy who used to do Yakuza, his other studio.
Oh,
is
that's
gonna
what
make,
it's going to be.
He's gonna make a Biggie Small.
I was also
game.
going to say Last Judgment, but that's
Yeah.
yeah. Those games aren't coming back.
No.
The lead actor in The Last Judgment, the mocap and voice actor, got in some trouble. That series never coming back.
Mm.
Anyway, Mighty Cuphead Adventures.
So, yeah, so the studio that made Cuphead,
MDHR.
yes,
Mhm.
which is a really weird one.
No,
really,
it's not very.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird. It doesn't stick out. But anyway, they made a
I
little announcement.
remembered it for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they kept saying it during
Yeah.
this segment
Yeah.
because their news studio, because they had Cuphead as a puppet news anchor talking about this.
I keep wanting to call it MGMT, but that's a band.
Yeah.
Or a music duo. Anyway.
And talking about how they are doing this retro pixel style Cuphead platformer.
Yeah, it's an 8-bit platformer
Yeah.
coded in assembly, for the Sega Master System,
That's wild.
which is really wild, and like just goes to show that. Know anything about Virtua Fighter, but this was a lot of story cutscene stuff.
Yeah. I have not played a Virtua Fighter
Or it's-
game since like Dreamcast. I
It's
think.
also being made by RGG. This is the first time they've done a fighting game, but they love Virtua Fighter. Almost, if not every game, almost every Yakuza game, you have the game corner where you can actually, they put in like other games that you
Sega,
can,
yeah,
like
games that you
Sega
can actually
Sega
play
arcade
inside.
games. Yeah.
They always put Virtua Fighter in there, different iterations of it. The thing that I'll say about Virtua Fighter, if you want a fast fighting game, this is not it.
No.
This is the slow, deliberate, you're going to do a couple of moves here and there and then back up. And it's almost like actual fighting as opposed to throwing fireballs, which I love. But, I'm looking forward to it. It's never been my favorite, but I have played quite a bit of it. And, yeah.
It's been so long that it's just interesting to see it
Yes.
come back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just on the name alone, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. 1666 Amsterdam.
From what I understand and what I could glean from this release was because there was virtually no information. I mean,
Virtua, no information.
I mean, it looked
That's
cool.
my one joke.
It looked cool.
You described it pretty well, as you said it was an Assassin's Creed style game, but you're a Salem witch.
That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
you're like a Salem era style
Yeah.
witch, like a Puritan kind of thing.
A lot of familiar cats walking around.
Oh yeah,
spooky-
yeah.
being around spooky trees.
Yeah.
Like there is a prologue chapter available on Steam that I will probably play by the time we do another
and
episode
talk
of
about
the
next
show.
week. Yeah.
So I will
yeah.
have more info for you then.
I keep forgetting there was a demo release.
Saw game.
Yeah, Billy the Puppet, the little mascot of Saw, came out on his little tricycle
Yep.
and said he wanted to play a game, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we got games." And then they showed the game.
Yeah, and then Billy goes, "Roll the tape."
Yeah, he says, "Roll the tape."
But then Jeff also had to say, "Roll the tape." So I think Jeff won't let anybody else say, "Roll
He
the
also
tape."
made a reference to liking, like, you know me, I like puppets. At some point during the show,
Which he does.
He
I
does
get
like
it,
puppets.
I get it, but it was really weird the fact that he made it with Miss Piggy last year, or at the Game Awards.
I mean, listen, if you're given the opportunity, would you? Be honest.
Yeah.
is this
Yeah.
your hear me out?
Yeah.
That's
You
not,
hear me out?
It's not
is
my
Miss
hear
Piggy?
me out. It's not something that I would actively go search for, but like, it's Miss Piggy.
She's an icon.
If she's right,
Like,
if she's there and she says, "Hey, you want a big old smooch?"
absolutely.
You don't say no. Anyway,
I agree. I
yeah,
100% agree.
there you go. You get it. You get it.
Anyway, this Saw game looks like it.
It looks like Saw.
Yeah,
It's every horror franchise asynchronous multiplayer game that's been made in the past 5 years, but now it's all.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So your Dead by Daylights, your Halloween, your your Friday the 13th that was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Texas Chainsaw one where you get to feed blood to Grandpa, which
And-
automatically makes it the best one.
That is pretty.
Actually,
cool.
And the Predator one.
The only one I've actually played is the Texas Chainsaw one. So
All right, Star Wars Zero Company.
So yeah, it's a Star Wars game that's a tactical-based.
Turn-based
XCOM.
XCOM.
Yeah, it's
Or
an XCOM.
Mario, what's it?
Oh yeah,
Mario-
the one I don't like.
The Mario Rabbids one.
Yeah.
I think this is cool because I've never seen a Star Wars game do turn-based, and that's interesting.
Yeah.
You didn't play
different
Knights
take.
of the Old Republic?
It's not turn-based.
Yes, it was.
You could pause it, but it was live.
It felt turn-based.
It's not turn-based. It was live combat that you could pause and direct.
Fair. Okay. All right. How about this? So, sorry.
Is it my phone vibrating? It was my electric bill alert.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Stream stuff.
I thought our stream stopped. It might have stopped for. I don't know. We just went down to 2 viewers. It might have stopped for half a second. Give it a sec. Give it a. We're still on.
Yeah,
it's okay.
I brought mine back.
Yeah, mine's back. Okay. Maybe we'll get them back. We'll see.
Hopefully.
Anyway, Among Us. Let's do the next one here. Among Us story and the show, I guess.
Yeah, they dropped the entire season of the Among Us show, animated show, which I've heard is both good and bad from the same website.
Okay, Polygon.
Yes,
Nah, makes sense.
that's where game journalism is right now.
Yep.
They don't know what they're doing.
No.
But a single player story mode Among Us.
Yes,
Is that what it is?
Yes, a single story set in the Among Us universe.
That's interesting, and the people at Innersloth are legitimately pretty funny.
They
so
are.
It should work.
Yeah, I like. What's her name? The community manager.
Victoria Tran.
Victoria. I like.
She's
I
great.
like her. She's pretty great. And yeah.
I have no doubt it'll be a fun little game.
Oh yeah. I like. You know what? I like the Among Us DLC for Vampire Survivors. So
I've never
that single player version is good.
I've
It's
never
possible.
played Among Us, nor do I really have any interest in it. But I like Innersloth, and they are good people.
I played it a couple times. It's fine.
It's fun if you've got if you're at a party.
It's hide and seek.
Yeah, it's just hide and seek.
I feel like they deserve every good thing they've gotten. Like
Yeah, I really do
I
too.
appreciate Intersloth.
And the fact that they are now doing producing smaller
publishing.
Publishing. Thank you. They're publishing indie games for folks who otherwise would not get their game out there.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's a reason enough to support Innersloth.
Tiny Build has been publishing a lot of stuff too.
Yeah. Pow World.
Yeah, Power World.
1.0 is coming.
It's out of early access. It's now an official game.
Did you
Oh,
notice in
man.
the trailer they were throwing balls and summoning monsters like the lawsuit that they won said they couldn't?
Yep. Yeah.
I mean,
Wait. The lawsuit they won?
yeah, they won it. I
They
thought.
want it. They're allowed to. Yeah.
Oh, so they're allowed to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Game Freak is not allowed to
Come at them for it.
copyright specifically throwing a ball. A ball is vague
and
enough.
summoning a monster.
And summoning a monster. Both of those actions are vague enough that they can't. I believe that's what it was. I
Yeah.
could be wrong.
That's like when Games Workshop tried to trademark elves and space marines and
Yeah.
other stuff, and a judge said no, those terms are too generic. So a bunch of stuff in Warhammer got renamed.
I'll give this a shot. I liked Power World when it came out, and I played it for a week or two.
Yeah.
And it felt like this. It didn't feel like a whole game at the time.
Oh, sure.
So I'll be interested to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Wolf Among Us 2 and a remaster of the first one.
You know what? I feel like this was made for me.
Yeah.
This is my hole. This was made for me. Because I've been talking for a long time that I want more Wolf Among Us. That the first game is what made me read the Fables comic.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's a fantastic game too.
Oh, it was great. I loved it.
When they did
Yeah.
the trailer for 2, it immediately made me think I need to go back and play the first season again. And then they announced that they're remastering the first season, so I'm like, well, then I will wait for that.
You'll wait.
Which I don't understand how much better they're going to make it. I mean, it's got a very definite art style that
Yeah.
I think translates beyond years.
And the
Sure.
the animation in the trailer for the new one didn't look much better than
No,
the
it
old
really
one
didn't.
either.
It looked like the old game.
Yeah, which I don't really care.
Which
That's fine.
The
with
Wolf
me.
Among Us 2 looked marginally better.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked different, but also still kind of holding some of that same style.
Well, it's probably one of those things where they can't alter the original game's art too much because that was such a big draw from other people. It would upset people.
And it's still got to run in the Telltale tool, the decrepit Telltale tool.
Well, that too.
This is one of those games, though, that I will believe it when it's on my hard drive that it's going to come out.
This is true. They've been talking about it for a long time.
They put a date on it. It's like February 2027, I think.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
But I'll believe it when it comes out.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Okay, and last one for Summer Games Fest that we're going to be talking about. We're skipping over some stuff, but Final Fantasy VII Revelation and Tifa in Street Fighter 6.
Yes.
Both Final Fantasy VII related.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they finally released a trailer for the part 3 of the remake series of Final Fantasy VII.
Yep.
And they're calling it Revelation.
And they said, "Where we dropping, boys?"
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Because you can parachute out of the high wind.
The high winds.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, probably means we're gonna get a Fortnite drop thing.
That's fine. I'll buy a Cloud. I'll buy a Tifa in Fortnite. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Give it Sephiroth.
Yeah, or they will give you Sephiroth.
They'll give you a Sephiroth.
With a one-wing
or a
glider.
one-wing you can put on.
A one-wing glider.
Backbling.
Yeah, that would be
You know what?
good.
It'll just be the high wind. It'll just drop in holding on to a miniature version of the high wind.
Which it says they've done a lot different under the hood for this, because the last Final Fantasy VII, it was very sectioned
Intergrade
off.
or whatever.
Yeah. No, it was
Rebirth. Rebirth. There was remake, Rebirth, and then Revelation.
It was very sectioned off into areas. But if you're dropping from a airship anywhere in the world, then now it's
pretty
way
open
more
up.
open than it was.
Which is like the tail end of the original Final Fantasy VII. Once you get the high wind, you can go anywhere.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Tifa in Street Fighter 6. I love Tifa, one of my favorite video game heroines of all time. I love Street Fighter, one of my favorite fighting games of all time. I don't think this fits as well as people are getting hyped for.
No, because people don't want to think about it more than Tifa good.
Yeah.
Like, she's a guest character.
Yeah,
Big whoop.
but up until this most recent character that they released, whose name escapes me at the moment, Street Fighter hasn't had a multiverse hopping around. And if you listen to the show long enough, you know that I don't like multiverse stuff. I think it's overdone. So I don't like this. This is like Geralt. It's even worse than Geralt in
Soul
Calibur.
It's Darth Vader in Soul Calibur.
It's Darth Vader and Yoda in Soul Calibur. It's Link in Soul Calibur.
Or Spawn in Soul Calibur.
Link fit.
Yeah.
But also, they even say in those games when they started adding guest characters like that they were pulled from other realities.
Right. So how are they going to describe?
Yeah.
Does Final Fantasy VII happen in a world where Metro City is over on the corner having their fight tournaments while Sephiroth is trying to destroy the planet?
I get why you don't like them dipping their toe into the every franchise can exist in our franchise.
This feels
water.
like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
And nothing should feel like Mortal Kombat.
They're leaning toward
Except for Mortal Kombat.
Not even Mortal Kombat.
They're leaning toward doing the same thing every other fighting game does, and that does kind of stink.
And that sucks. That stinks on ice.
But also, I feel like there's enough attached franchises to the Street Fighter universe.
Yeah.
That they don't need to do this. Pull one of those characters.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. You know what? Bring back Urgeist. God bless the ring.
Yeah, let Tifa be that.
The PS1 fighting game / dungeon crawling adventure game.
I want that sound. Do you think you could use that sound in another game and not get in trouble?
Maybe. You know what? Do it.
Skronk.
Find out. You know what? I'll add it to the soundboard.
Skronk around and find out.
Yeah. I'll set a random for when we go to our different sections. One out of every 20. Skronk. Anyway,
I feel like this hurts the integrity of Street Fighter's own world.
I agree.
To do this,
I agree. The other 3 characters for their season,
I did not recognize any of them. Were they all original?
Yeah, for their 4th year. 2 of them are completely original. One of them is your rival-esque character in the World Tour mode of Street Fighter 6, where you create your own homunculus and run around town.
Okay.
Bosch is the other guy that is training with you, who gets filled with psycho energy and becomes a bad guy with a box on his head for a while. So that's going to be his costume too, probably. It makes sense why he has a box on his head.
No, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
But they are bending the knee to pop culture, even though they are a cornerstone of pop culture in their own right.
They don't need to do this.
No, they really don't.
This.
My love for Tifa lets me better ignore this, but I think you're absolutely right.
Here's the thing. They have a character that would work perfectly with the moveset that they would give Tifa. Her name is Makoto, and she was in Street Fighter 3 and 4.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, they don't. There are so many characters that are in the lore that they're missing in this game, outside of like a throwaway reference every once in a while.
Yes.
Use any of those characters.
Yes, but you're forgetting that Tifa is best girl, best waifu of all time.
Well, that's true. And now we can have a fight between her and Chun-Li and Mai for the ones with the biggest personality. Moving on to Sony State of Play.
Hey,
right.
It's PlayStation time.
Are we going from bottom to top again?
Yeah, because I think that is the order it happened.
Okay. You know what? We're just going to keep talking about video games. God damn it.
They're all video games, bud.
We're going to start
games.
We're going to keep. Yeah, let me. So we're going to keep talking about fighting games here. Marvel Tokon, which is the Marvel. It's what is it? It's Arc Systems. Marvel v Capcom, but it's Marvel v Marvel, basically.
How many tokens do you have to insert into the machine to play
at
the
least
game?
$2. So they have it's a 4v4 fighter, and they've been drip feeding the teams. So there's 5 teams to start the thing out. And this is the villains team. Doctor Doom, Magneto, Green Goblin, and Carnage, which is an interesting choice. I'm glad they picked Carnage instead of Venom because Venom is everywhere.
Yeah, it's more.
And also Venom is more heroic.
Venom is more big Spider-Man. Carnage is more body horror, make axe out of his arm kind of situation. So you can
But
get
also it's
things.
weird to pull them in this when Magneto in recent years has been more of an anti-hero. But also, I guess Doom kind of
has Doom, and right now the Green Goblin is the Gold Goblin because he's been cured of his insanity and is a good guy right now.
Also, isn't Carnage attached to Scarlet Spider now?
He is attached to Spider-Man right now.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
Magneto.
Comic books!
Magneto is an anti-hero, no, depending on how you look at it.
That's also true.
The whole time.
Yeah.
Your message is sound, but
Yeah.
your
Point being, these characters look great, and I'm very excited for this.
I do want to play this game, even though it is super kind of animated out.
It is, well, there's a reason
point.
it is set in
I know.
It's a different universe. It's not mainline Marvel.
I know.
The Game Master and I forget who the other character, the Champion,
John
are
Anime.
two big, basically John Anime, are like the leaders of this anime world, and they're like, okay, Anime Avengers,
Fight.
They take in their SF figure arts and they're slamming them together until they're done. But that's Marvel Tokon. There's one team left.
I'm glad they casted Sungwon Cho as Doctor Doom. He's going to kill that.
He is absolutely
going to
kill
eat
it.
that role alive.
You think he'll do a foot dive?
Oh, I hope so. Yes.
They
also, I'm excited for Goblin. I thought his moveset looked really good.
It looked really
cool.
cool.
I really liked the look of his costume.
Yes.
I thought he looked really great. I was like, I like that.
Oh, the costumes, the anime, it's not like they went 100% anime style with all the costumes, but they've turned it just enough. I didn't know I needed Captain America with a tiny leather jacket until I saw his design, and it is so good.
Kind of reminds me
So
of
good.
Falcon from what's that Capcom platformy fighting game?
Oh, Power Stone. Power Stone.
Yes, Power Stone.
He's got a tiny jacket. It's good. Sometimes you need a tiny jacket.
There was a new Rayman game coming.
Rayman,
but
it's not new.
Don't get too excited because it's not actually new.
Nope.
It's a remake of
the newest one,
the last one they did,
which was like a handful of years ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I personally think it looks objectively worse graphically.
Yeah.
Because they went full 3D CG with it.
That sucks.
And it makes it lose a lot of its personality that the 2D animated art had.
Yep, that's a bummer. Tomb Raider.
Yes, the remake of the original Tomb Raider something of Atlantis. I can't really remember the name.
Legacy of Atlantis, I think.
Legacy of AI stuff.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm not playing it now.
Yeah.
Because they had to disclose they used AI, because Steam makes you do that.
I'm glad. Thank you, Steam.
Yeah. And Crystal Dynamics said they used AI. I don't think they were clear on exactly what, but any is bad.
When we were doing this, I think I saw where they had said they used it for certain like assets, and then they were cleaned up by humans later.
Still don't care.
Yeah, I know. I'm just
saying they traced over the slop isn't the win they think it is.
Yeah, the fact that they actually used slop.
Yeah,
and it stinks because it looked good.
It did look really good.
It looked good.
But
all right, Kimuri.
This was by Akumi Nakamura.
I don't remember this one.
She was the art director on Ghost.
Great.
Yeah, the art director on Ghostwire Tokyo.
Okay.
This is a game about fighting yokai.
Oh, that's this one. Okay.
Almost Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is like yokai. This is like urban yokai Monster Hunter.
It has a really cool look, and initially I wasn't terribly interested, but then Akumi came out, and I'm like, okay, I trust you.
Yeah.
I will take this journey with you.
Akumi?
Yeah, Akumi Nakamura.
Oh, right.
Yep.
I thought you were talking about a character.
No.
For a second.
No, looks like a lot of fun.
I actually really liked Ghostwire Tokyo too. I thought that was a really cool game.
It was. Stuntman Hollywood.
This, at first when it started playing, I was like, okay, so another racing game, whatever. And then he like does like a jump and you see a cop. I was like, oh, okay, it's a new.
It's Need for Speed Hot Pursuit is back.
Yeah. I thought it's seriously what I said when I was watching it on the couch. I was like, oh, it's Hot Pursuit. But then Kit from Knight Rider shows up, and I was like, what is this?
Oh heck
and
yeah!
It starts playing the theme song.
Yeah, and then Mad Max cars show up.
Kit from Knight Rider, was at the con, by the way.
Oh, there was a Kit car?
Yeah,
that's cool.
You had to pay $10 to get a picture of it with a mannequin dressed up like
Michael Knight.
A Michael Knight standing next to him. There was a cosplayer who showed up with a fake afro and the Michael Knight leather jacket and red shirt. Anyway, continue.
Nice. And then like the Mad Max cars showed up, and then the DeLorean showed up. I was like, "What is this?"
All your favorite intellectual properties have coalesced.
I legit before the reveal of the title, I sat there and Brandy was sitting next to me as I was watching this, and I was like, "What is this? Like Ready Player Car? Like what is this?"
Basically, yeah.
And then he got out of the DeLorean. Thank you.
You did another good one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ready Player Car.
Yeah, thank you. And I saw the helmet and the suit. I was like, "Is this Stuntman?" And then the title popped up. And I was like, "Stuntman in the Year of My Lord 2026."
They brought back Stuntman.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had two.
The most frustrating driving game they've ever made.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Until Dawn 2.
They're doing another one of those.
It's happening.
Yeah, it's a horror game. Who
All
cares?
right. Wolverine.
The first one was really good.
Was it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Wolverine.
The movie they made of it, not so much.
Oh, okay.
But
so
the original
Wolverine,
game,
they had
good.
so much Wolverine footage. That game looked amazing.
Yeah, it looks great, but they've shown it to us a lot. Like, just release it
and
already.
it looks fun. It looks nasty and bloody and
yeah. I felt like it was a little much, honestly.
like when he kicks that one guy and he like gets impaled on a
forklift. It was a little too gory. I don't want to sound like a fuddy-duddy old man.
Also, there was a big one we didn't have on the list.
Okay, do it quick.
God of War.
Oh yeah.
There was a new God of War.
Wife of boy.
Yeah. Yes. Wife of War. This takes place. I thought when it first started, I thought this like, oh great, they're remastering 2018 God of War. It didn't need it, but then it keeps going. I'm like, this is new. So we are playing as Kratos' wife, Laufey, or Laufey. Laufey.
She's also got the music pass on Fortnite right now too, which is
different
weird.
character. But yes, I get what you're saying. But yeah, you are fighting in the what they said in the trailer was the afterlife of the gods.
Oh, okay.
And the main villain is Sekhmet from Egyptian mythology.
Oh, nice.
So it makes me wonder if that's where all those rumors of an Egyptian God of War was coming from.
And she's got a sentient cube that follows her around that's voiced by Jack Quaid.
Who's named Frank.
Okay.
Frank the Cube?
His name is Frank.
Wow.
Okay. And there's a magic sword stuck in him, but the sword isn't the part that talks. It's the ribbon that hangs off the pommel that you can do all these crazy grapple moves and swing around with.
Oh, right on.
It looks good. I don't get what the chads on the internet are saying.
You know.
I know why.
You know why.
I know why. But it's that
I knew immediately when I first saw it exactly what they were gonna say because they're that predictable and boring.
I'll play it. I'm gonna play it.
Yep. All right. Off mic. We have 5 minutes to get through the Xbox
Holy
showcase.
All right.
All right, so last up is the Xbox Showcase. We're running out a little short on time, which is a shame because you guys have said this was the best one.
This was the good one.
So Metro 2039.
It's the next one in the Metro series. It looks good. I like that series. It should be fun.
I don't know anything about it, so move on.
It's Fallout, but more realistic in Russia.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds like your jam.
I know, right?
Yep. Bad Magpie.
Bad Magpie. It is an Untitled Goose Game with the serial number filed off.
Sounds fun. That sounds like a game specifically made for Jordan.
And me.
Being a gremlin and you're also a crow type character.
And you're collecting
shiny things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Jordan game written all over it. Halo Campaign Evolved.
Yes, the remake of the original Halo with 3 new missions.
That already has a remake.
Yeah.
It's a remake of a remake.
Yeah, but it has more stuff.
With more stuff. It's Halo.
And it looks really good. I think it looks really good.
I will play it. I've never actually played through the original Halo because I always get bored about halfway through.
I played it so much. But that was also the early 2000s.
Okay. Doom, The Dark Ages,
Yep.
Revelations.
This looks rad as hell, and I love it, and I can't wait for it to come out next month.
It is a DLC for Doom, The Dark Ages that gives you more story.
The people that Doom guy saved are now afraid of him because he's too awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So they send him to his own personal hell to fix all his equipment again.
He's too brutal.
In Ice World.
Yeah.
Kinda. Yeah.
And he has a chain spear, and it looks rad.
It looks
and
pretty.
I was cheering the whole time.
We watched the trailer before we started recording, and it does look pretty great.
Crazy Taxi's back.
Great! Yay!
Don't get too excited.
AI.
Because they used AI to make the background assets. Nope.
Boo.
Nope. So
like the minute Offspring started playing, I looked up. I was like, what?
Yeah, that was the other one that had me cheering and clapping and pooping my pants. But then right afterwards, they put up the Steam page and had to disclose their AI use, and I was like, well, I guess I'm not playing that now.
Not playing that one. There is a Xbox Series X limited edition, translucent green.
Yep, it looks just like the old one from the early 2000s.
It looks sick as hell.
It does look cool.
There's no way that I'm would spend money on it, but it's
I
cool.
would because I don't already have an Xbox.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But do I really need an Xbox? Not particularly.
Yeah, Game Pass makes it pretty worthwhile.
I have PC Game Pass.
True.
Well,
but
you
said your PC
is not the best. Yeah, it's true. It is a little old now.
But then you should just upgrade.
Yeah, I know, right?
If you should upgrade your PC because then you could play Minecraft Dungeons 2.
I don't care.
Moving on.
I like the concept of a Diablo-esque Minecraft, but I think it needs to lean into the creative spirit of Minecraft. And these games do not seem like they do that
they're just a game with a Minecraft tint on it.
You should be able to make your own dungeons for your friends to go through. That should have been in the first game, and it also doesn't look like it's in this one. So what's the point?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Castlevania, the new one, made from the
people who made Dead Cells.
Dead Cells, yes, Dead Cells.
Evil Empire is their name.
So it's really colorful, it's really cool, and we're playing as Rose Belmont, it's called Castlevania: The Curse of Belmont, and you are
the second female Belmont ever.
Yep, and she is the daughter of Trevor.
It looks rad. Super
it looks cool.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it looks like a Castlevania, and it's a side scroller. Yeah, so let's go.
I like Dead Cells.
Yeah, it's a great game. It is a good game.
So this is gonna be good.
There's a game coming out called Vivarium.
It's like a cozy game that has a super Ghibli-looking art style, like legitimately.
Yeah, like it legitimately looks like an old Ghibli movie, not even a new one. It looks like an old one. Like it feels like Totoro or Nausicaa.
Yeah.
Something like that.
They are writing the Ghibli check and cashing it.
Nice.
And it looks great, and I want to play it.
And it all looks like it takes place inside of a terrarium jar somewhere else, too, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Persona 4 is getting a remake, and they said something
Persona
about
6.
They announced that Persona 6 exists, and they had a trailer that panned through a graveyard and then showed a logo.
Okay.
Which cool.
Yeah, cool.
Whatever.
I need to play all the way through 4. I've attempted to several times, and this hopefully is what will get me the rest of the way through.
True.
Clockwork Revolution.
It is a Xbox exclusive / PC exclusive. It looks amazing.
It looks like a goofier BioShock mixed with the Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
But it's all clockwork steampunk, and you're like English style steampunk.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
With some time travel mixed in
Yeah,
as
there's some
well.
time travel stuff, and your protagonist has a really dapper, thick mustache.
Sold. But like steampunk and time travel seem to go together.
They really do, and I feel like that's like the H.G. Wells kind of.
I think so.
Like,
And-
like DNA in there.
And it's the alternate history of it too.
That's the thing.
yeah.
That's a big thing about steampunk is the alternate history, and I love that. I love that aesthetic.
We got to mention Spyro real quick.
Well,
you skipped over Spyro.
I was going to save it for last.
Okay.
I was going to save it for last. All right. Call of Duty.
Call of Deep.
Call of Deep Rock Galactic.
Yep.
Hey, they have a shooter game coming out called Rogue Core.
Nice. Call of Duty DMZ.
Yeah, so they had this in the remake of Modern Warfare 2.
Yep.
I played it because I liked it more than Warzone, because I don't like Warzone, which is Warzone's their battle royale.
Yeah,
DMZ.
Warzone is Fortnite for angry 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But definitely not as fun.
Edgelords.
Yeah.
Edgelord Fortnite.
Yeah. So DMZ was an extraction mode they had. It was okay. It wasn't fully polished. This looks a lot more like they definitely put a lot more work into this one.
Okay.
I like the setting.
The setting is very cool.
It's nuclear accident North Korea.
Interesting.
And
But also,
okay.
the new
Interesting
Call
setting.
of Duty is set in a Korean war.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's kind of why it's that way. That's the story of the new Call of Duty. It's a Korean conflict.
If this is a mode I can play for free or with Game Pass, I would give it a shot. Otherwise, I wouldn't touch it.
I remember the old DMZ was just kind of there, like it was a mode you could select, but you still had to own the game to do it. Unlike Warzone, where you can just have Warzone.
I think extraction games are very interesting. That concept of having the impermanence of the items that you collect is very cool.
It is pretty cool.
I feel like it's something that could be further evolved upon.
I agree. All right, last but not least, Spyro.
Holy
A Realm Beyond.
He's back.
Holy
He's back, the purple boy.
I can't believe it. I can't believe Spyro's back.
They had just a smidgen of actual footage, and he's flying a lot.
Really? Good.
Like maybe you can just get up and fly wherever you want.
It looked like he was flying through rings to kind of boost to keep going. So I feel like that's kind of an element. You're not quite being able to fly forever.
It looks like you have much more flight power than
there is definitely a new level of traversity in what it looks like in this game.
Okay.
But also, it's a Spyro game that's not a Skylander thing.
Yeah.
So it's been so long since we've had this.
I'm glad it happened. It was due to happen, especially after how well the remasters sold and how good they were.
They were solid games.
They're gorgeous too.
Yeah, they are. They are amazing. And that was on the PS4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can play it on the Switch, and it looks good there, kind of.
Kind of.
Asterisks.
Yeah.
That's the best you can do. Hey, that's all right. Guys, we did it. We talked about all the games.
I don't think we skipped any of them that we put
on the board. We got through every single one of them.
If we skipped your favorite game you wanted to hear about, then let us know, and we'll talk about it next week.
You can send all those.
Yeah. Hey, we're wrapping it up. You've been listening to Nerd Overload. Thank you very much for tuning in. You can find us each and every day over at nerdoverload.com.
If you want to talk about anything we've talked about, or we maybe missed something, or maybe you want us to go more in depth in something, you can send that at staff@nerdoverload.com.
Yeah, you can give us a phone call, too. Get your parents' permission before you use the phone, and you can give us the call at 412-345-1413.
Hate to interrupt. You don't have to do that again because he coughed.
I still have a tick. Hold on.
Just full on cough into the mic. We'll maybe add that. Just let her rip. Let her rip, Cody. Josh, let her rip. I'm sorry. I'm tired.
I'm not paying Beyblade.
Okay. All right.
Give us a call on the Nerd Overload hotline. Get your parents' permission before you use the phone, and you can give us the call at 412-345-1413. Yeah, let us know if there was any games you wanted to hear about that we didn't give our such important, precious opinion on.
You can find all of our back episodes on various podcast apps, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube, where all of our VODs go up when we stream. And we're on Twitch, twitch.tv/nerdoverload. Finally, I'd like to thank Parker for helping us find news for the show, and David Pencil for our intro and outro. So again, thank you all for tuning in, and we will be back next week.
And make sure to come back next week because Nintendo's got a Direct loaded in the chamber and ready to fire tomorrow.
More video games.
I don't think it'll take up the whole show, though. Maybe we'll talk about something else.
We'll talk
too.
about something else, maybe.
They'll talk about 4 things.
Maybe.
All right, we're out. We got
it.
Holy crap. We did it.
I feel bad we rushed through that stuff so fast, but
That's okay. You know what?
We said what needed
to be fair, there was not a lot of meat.
So
there wasn't a lot of meat in any of those things during any of those shows.
Most of them were trailers with no context because they don't do it like Nintendo where they explain to you why you should like this game and what it does.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, here's shiny object. Here's shiny object.
Here's the thing.
Here's shiny object.
Here's somebody getting stabbed in the neck. Here's somebody else getting stabbed in the neck.
They understand the attention span of the internet.
Yeah.
We did it.
We did it. We could take a breath.
And it's hot.
And it's warm. We're going to wrap this up very quickly.
Yes,
so,
we're done.
We'll be back next week. I might stream on Friday.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. I have a couple ideas for something.
I might stream this week. I've
that'd be
something
cool.
I had an idea of.
That'd
I don't know.
Cool. Yeah.
I've started playing Baldur's Gate with some of my old D&D pals on Wednesdays, so that kind of put the kibosh on using Wednesdays as streaming day.
Yeah. But well, right on. Okay, we're just gonna go ahead and let me sit up for a second. I guess we'll see you all on the next. Yeah, go ahead.
It would have been hilarious if you were like, "Let me sit up for a second," and then you just ripped the most massive fart of all time.
Yeah, I thought you. Yeah. Just let her. Yeah. I should have that button on my thing.
Oh yeah, we should have a fart noise.
We should have a fart button.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right. So thumbs up here. Yep. We're doing it. And we're out.